All right, welcome everybody. So good to see everybody's faces tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about session 4. We'll talk about that general coin model facilitation overview, where we talk about some general things you might want to consider and the specific kind of introduction, what we usually talk about as we're getting people into that raw talent section. And like we said, there is a little kind of those introduction and the raw talent section do sometimes bleed together, and we'll cover even more of that, take you all the way through the raw talent section and connect in your pre-session video for 5. The homework for today was POM, and we'll talk about that. I have a feeling we'll spend a nice chunk of time on that tonight. I hope so. It can be a really useful resource. And we put it here because it's usually the thing you're going to do as you seek alignment with your potential client or with another person. It's a great place to start when you're initiating something. All right, so Adam's already done that. I think I just covered that, actually. So we are going to jump right into the POM worksheet, talking that over. I do want to ask first general questions.
What are you doing?
I don't know if that's Adam or
That's not me.
Not me.
Whatever it is, I like it. It's refocusing my attention. I'm getting an alignment here. Thanks.
It's like our
where
secret adult learning techniques, or like a background.
The coin model. That's what we're doing today, right?
Just general overview and the introduction section of the coin. We'll actually be breaking that down as we go through. So just any general questions from the pre-session video or anything like that?
Asking questions.
Yeah, before we get into these POM worksheet, because everybody should be showing up with their homework done and having one of these filled out. And we can jump right into that if nobody has any questions about anything else.
So, Valinda, I have a question on the POM worksheet and just how you guys have used it before. Because, you gave the great examples of like the vacation and those pieces when we visited. But, can you give me some examples? Because when I dove into this, I dove big. I went I'm taking a leap. I'm doing a transition. I'm going to start my own thing. And I was like, that's a huge, that's not very narrow or specific or, if you're going SMART, goal planning, all those pieces. So how do you guys navigate that with clients, and how do you see this work? Is there a purpose that can just be too much of an elephant that you're not eating it one bite at a time, or, how does that work?
That is a great question and a really important one. So you can use this at a macro or micro level. And we didn't get into the way you would do the macro level because it's pretty in-depth. But what you would do, so let's use the strength base. Let's say you have a client that's coming to you and you're saying, okay, they want to do a full-on strength-based rollout. And that is, pretty big, especially if the organization is large. So, that would be your purpose, to initiate a strength-based rollout in this organization. That purpose stays very simple. It can be large or small. And then the outcomes, what would that look like if we do that successfully, could be narrowed down to some pretty specific bullet points. The methods, however, in something that large, that's where you're going to see the big kind of that's where you're going to spend your time really breaking down into strategies and tactics. And we go through kind of a lengthy process. And then you do actually go in and assess each method to make sure it's okay, you're going to do the strength-based rollout. You're going to get the senior leadership team on board first. That's a whole strategy. And then under that has very specific methods and tactics. And then the next step, you keep drilling down in the method section. It's great to use as a tool for a life transition as well, or a professional one. Try to get as specific as possible, but that strategies and tactics section is where you're going to start identifying the steps you need to take. And at first, you kind of want to just brainstorm your methods, and then you go back and you sequence, all right, well, what strategy has to come first? What methods are under that? It gives you actually a nice kind of blueprint to follow when you do it that way. But that is a pretty big, deep dive, like you said. So I actually would love to hear, see your example and hear some of your thoughts as you worked with it, to see if you were already going where I was talking about that we do, or you had some questions about it. Because I don't think you're alone. I think there's a few people on this call that are in the same place.
Yeah. And I when I did it, I asked because I was definitely on the macro, like the huge 30,000 foot view, which tends to be where I go anyway. But when I went through with the methods, I just kind of subbed this out, okay, so remind yourself of the purpose, use that as kind of the roadmap of like, okay, this is your purpose and this is your outcome. And when you do a method, when I'm brainstorming the methods, I never really got past the brainstorming of the methods because I wanted that question asked. But when I would analyze a method, I would say, is that going to move the needle? And if it does,
I get it.
Dive a little deeper in it. If it doesn't move the needle and I have that outcome on one side and that purpose on the other, if it's not going to move the needle, then I just need to abandon it. So it was a good processing tool, but maybe I'll clean it up and share with you, but it was a mess. But
That's exactly how it starts. It starts as a mess because you're almost brainstorming, and then it gives you these really nice goalposts to assess. Is this method going to produce those, maximum results with the minimum of effort? So you're looking at your talents through that lens. You're looking at, if you don't clearly articulate those outcomes first, you have no way of really assessing, because sometimes everything sounds good, when it's just a purpose. But when you have those outcomes narrowed down, then yes, you can really analyze.
So basically we're wanting to think with the end result in mind.
Yes.
So you start with a purpose, there's an outcome, and you bridge. Your bridge is your method. So the method to get from purpose to outcome. Okay. So that's when you ask, what's it going to take?
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do? What's it going to take? Are we going to, depending on what the purpose is, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Anybody have a purpose? We want to use it as an example.
Yeah, I think I'd love to hear
something I think more workplace oriented instead of personal. On a personal, I think workplace. I was talking to a girl today, and I'm kind of in this strength finders mindset for about 4 years now. So I'm thinking. So when I talk to somebody in the workplace, I ask them, are there situations that can improve what's going on? We just lost an engineer who's responsible for taking care of all the major repairs. So, and then I'm good friends with the director of operations, who is kind of equal to his leadership here. And so he's gone. And so we have some things that need to be fixed back in our laundry area. We provide towels in our facility. So I asked her, well, I hear you're missing someone on your team. What's going on? What do you think could be? Why is that? So I asked why, because, purpose is why. Okay. So what the outcome we're needing here is we're needing to find another engineer that can handle the workload, because we're a huge facility and we're building more and more facilities as time. I mean, we just opened a new one last week that's 10 times bigger than this one. So basically, our purpose is to put the right people in the right positions and making sure the work gets done. So I asked one of the girls who works in operations, I said, so what do you think is something that needs to happen that will improve? And she said, communication. That's the one thing. She's like, sometimes, because everyone's everyone has a purpose, but we all have to communicate and understand what our purpose is. Yes. So we understand the why, and then we can get the outcome and know that there's a method for taking care of every department, everything. So in order to get all the laundry out and the laundry done and to meet our members' needs is that's an outcome. The method would be, we need to have someone making sure that all of our washers and dryers are working properly. So I may have went off on a tangent, but she said simply communicate. I mean, there are some things that break down. They're afraid to communicate to management that these things are broken, because if it's not in the budget to fix it, it's like we don't have the tools to do our job. So we have our purpose is to communicate our needs. I can't express that enough to my 13-year-old daughter. I'm like, look, I need you to communicate your needs to me, because you cannot meet the outcome if you don't communicate your needs. That's my purpose, is to make sure that your needs are met. So anyhow, I don't know. I just went on a tangent. Sorry. I didn't do my homework, but I'm here I am giving you an example. But I went over the video today, so I'm kind of fresh and new on the information.
Yeah, Adam, you look like you were about to jump in. Did you want to?
Well, yeah, but I lost what I was going to say. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, so that is a very clear, concrete example. And once you're saying, you're talking with this person, you're working almost like in a brainstorm to figure out the purpose. And so sometimes that starts as a point of contrast. Sometimes that starts with a knowing about, I want to make a career transition. You're looking at, it doesn't have to be contrast, but it could be. Then once you have that purpose articulated, and then you look at, okay, that's the why, the problem we're trying to solve, or the direction we're trying to go, or if you want to take a very specific action, those outcomes, having fresh towels consistently on a regular basis would be an outcome. Positive communication between team members, that's an outcome. One of the strategies you might, now that okay, hey, I just heard communication, there's a breakdown there. Strategy could look like, you need to look at, concrete communication method between staff and management, so that it's not something that they have to guess or think about. A channel that's established and a trusted, open kind of thing that they know, hey, I fill out a piece of paper, it goes to this person, it goes to this person, I hear back. Some kind of communication method that everybody agrees on and understands. That would be the strategy, and then the method would be actually figuring out the nuts and bolts of that. It sounds like another strategy would be to hire another person. Yeah. So then you would look at, the sort of sub bullet points under that little strategy in the method would be, are you recruiting from a pool of people that are going to have the right qualifications? Are they going to be trained? So that, do they have a clear, and then you're going to train that person. So you have, a kind of a clear roadmap for that very concrete example. Everybody is communicating that, so they're all on the same page. That's important when it's a team, it's in a team purpose outcomes method something. It's not enough for just you to do this on your own and not tell anybody. It's like this gives you a way to do, kind of clearly outline your information, and then either work with your team to create the solutions, or if you need to do it on your own and you already have it, then you communicate this to your team so they know why they're doing what they're doing and what it's supposed to look like if it's successful, and the methods we're all going to use to get there, because then they can come to you if they see that a method is failing. They can come to you and say, hey, this method doesn't seem to be working and here's why. That's much easier to fix, and then if you're evaluating it in the context of the outcomes. So
Sure.
And, with our other example about career transition or life transition, if you need to communicate it to relevant parties, this gives you a more clear, articulated way to do so. And then as you begin to go through the experience of the methods, because the methods are the experiential place, or the action steps, the purpose is the why you're doing those things, and the outcome is, hey, this is what I'd like it to look like. The methods are where you're in reality and in life. And you might get into a method, checking back, mentally occasionally, and see, hey, this method is going really well. I think I need to do more of it. Or, hey, this method, it's not doing what I thought it was going to do. So you can pull the plug quicker, conserve your resources, and then navigate over to a method that's going to work. So it gives you a way to evaluate those methods in real time, which is so, so important, because, you do this, you do your POM. Essentially it's abstract. It's a theory. It's like, hey, I want this to work. It's the thing I'd like to have happen. Sometimes they just fall in line and it's so great, and then sometimes, especially when they're bigger, you're outlining the method so everybody has something to go on, but it's a working, living document so that you go back into it as experience shows you, yes, we're going toward our outcomes, or we seem to be going over here and our outcomes are way over there. It gives you a way to reassess and, sort of point the compass back north. So I'm going to pause there. I see that Rhonda has questions.
I do. I kind of wanted to share my experience just real quick. And I didn't make it to the M.
Sometimes it's a longer conversation.
I worked with this with two different people. I never got to the M on either one. And interestingly enough, and I was sitting here thinking, in one case, we didn't have everything that we wanted, all of the purposes that we created, that we had, was about, was kind of, I guess, had the way we look at the world, which would have been connectedness, spiritual, right? Mm-hmm. And so then when we went over to outcomes, all of that was spiritual. We were singing Kumbaya by the time we y'all, and then we get down to the deliverables and which is the method, we kind of okay, so we have like promotional deliberatives, and then we've got actual product deliverables, and like neither one of us we don't have any purple. And we hey, listen, we got to go. We had to, but we'd been working on it for 45 minutes. It's like, I'm out of time. Mm-hmm. I can't, it was so, all of the work we were doing was here. And when I heard you just say, at some point you have to get down to reality. Okay. So when do you suggest that people who live up here do that, and how? Because in that moment,
Well, let me ask you a couple questions. Was it a macro or a micro POM? So, for example, were you looking at a really big initiative or change or purpose?
We're trying to do a joint venture, just a little class together that would attract, people coming in. That's all it was, And so really some of the purposes, okay, which is the why, were all about us. It was going to be fun. We wanted to work together, right?
Are you comfortable sharing a little bit more so we can get some, traction on, because there really should be one purpose.
Sometimes it starts with a couple sentences, but
we've got 10.
Well,
okay, then you have 10. You're going to have 10 different outcomes and then 10 different methods, right?
Maybe not. So here's something you want to think about. When you're brainstorming your purpose, sometimes it looks long.
That's what we were doing. We were brainstorming, ideating. We both have ideation.
So, if you have ideation, it's going to take longer. But it just is. But what I'll say, just a tip.
Oh, dear.
Sometimes when you brainstorm your purpose, outcomes sneak in there. But when you go back and you sort of say, okay, I want to distill that down to one sentence, you might see, ooh, those could actually move over to outcomes. Having fun, that we had fun doing the class, that'd be an outcome.
Okay.
That, you know, we enjoyed the collaborative work experience together, that's an outcome. So that will sneak into your purpose because it's the brainstorming and you start with purpose and sometimes it's a little messy, but, you know, get it out there first and then step back and reevaluate. I don't
mind being more specific. I think it might be.
I think it'd be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So we want to do a joint venture, right? Because we want to have fun and all this impractical, you know, like I said, woo-woo spiritual kind of stuff that it's our well-being. That's the driver.
Okay, hold on. I just want to say spirituality has a purpose too. So it's not, it doesn't have to be either or. It's if you're
healing,
if there's a spiritual element to your purpose, great. If there's a execution element to your purpose, great. If there's a, you know,
I think it's amazing. And the only reason I mentioned that is because it really kind of makes it a little bit more difficult because, again, this is just my own construct. I look at it here when I need to be boots on the ground at certain points, and I'm not there. I'm like way out in the future somewhere, you know?
Well, I suggest a couple things. One, I think that, you know, it's working with this and what we have, Adam and I were just talking about this. We probably need to create like a separate little mini class just on POM so we can really get some clarity. We've been talking about that, but here it is. Here's a great example of Adam and my themes. We've had a lot of thoughts around it, but now we see it's a need. And so that will hopefully spur our thoughts and turn them into action. We'll make a class.
Like by Friday. Would be
well, you never know. Sometimes we get going and sometimes people have to keep our heels to the fire. But I will say this is a great tool and it can be complex, but your themes are going to totally be part of this process. So if Rhonda, your themes are going to show up. Ideation is going to take longer because you're going to have great ideas.
My themes not only show up, they abandon the barn when it comes down to the
and maybe you can pull somebody in. So let's say you have a lot of fun in the brainstorming and you start to narrow down and you realize you might need some help from someone who can see the execution strategies a little clearer. Maybe you pull them in at that point. I bet you have some friends that would love to come in and help with that.
Adam.
But I would.
What is Adam's top 5?
Well, he has
4 of Felinda's top 5.
Oh,
you want to jump in and say an order?
They are a match.
Yeah, or a redundancy, depends. But
you know, that's the whole thing with this person that I was doing this around. You know, we want to create a joint venture, and it's part of my responsibilities with the new advocacy that I'm working on. So that's what the purpose, but that becomes the outcome. I think somebody, who was it that said that it was difficult? They wrote it on the thing.
Maybe Nikki.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It is difficult. I am not seeing the differences between.
But it'll come, and they're there. It's practice. This is you know, POM is an activity in itself. It's a skill, and you guys went from oblivious. You didn't even know there was such a thing, and then you graduated to inept, which is I now know there's something called POM, and then you have to decide. And you guys are all in this decision phase right now of, do I want to get better at this thing, or am I fine being inept? That's how I am when I learn a new. I'm like, there's some things I'm just like, I don't have the bandwidth. It's not for me to learn how to do.
Oh no, I'm ready to, because listen, you said something so serious in that training that is what I want. You said, what is the term, like the what most people do, it's they put the most of their resources towards things that don't work.
That's
What's
right.
the right phrase?
Bad method.
Bad method.
They're using maximum resources for minimum outcome.
Right.
I don't want that anymore.
Right?
Like, I'm done. Like, time, energy, all of it, right?
Yeah,
So
we've done.
I
Haven't
wanna
we
be
done enough of
master.
that? I mean, haven't we lived long enough that we didn't know any better, And then we do the trial and error thing, and then we're like, okay, it comes down to one of my favorite quotes. It's good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from poor judgment. We have to have poor judgment, and that's what teenagers do, and that's why their insurance rates are so high. And then we're like, oh, right, that's not a good use of my resources. So we've learned we all want this. And so POM just describes, all it is describing something that's available to us at any time, which is a way to think through things, to get clear on what's the purpose. What is the purpose of your collaboration with this person? You can go into all sorts of other stuff, but let's get down to the core of it. Your purpose with this other person is some version of making lives better,
Yes.
Right?
Your why.
Absolutely.
That's core to what Rhonda does, everything Rhonda does, right? It's usually some degree of making other people's lives better.
Is it that simple? Because I can just fill in
Yes.
that blank all day
It
long.
is that simple.
to start. But then I would want to angle in on it more, because it's like, how does Rhonda want to make people's lives better?
Yeah.
And how does Rhonda and this other person, how does the intersection, the overlap, between the two of them?
Yeah.
What is the purpose of that? So it'd be like, the purpose is to create an engaging show that helps people better do blank. Now we're getting on the road to purpose. And it should be one sentence, a statement, maybe two.
So the purpose of the joint venture is to leverage an opportunity to bring more coachy potential, people who are coachees, who need coaching, onto a platform to meet coaches.
There you go.
To meet their coach.
And I would get that down, and then you'll it may not be like 100%, but you're on the green. You know what I mean? Like in golf, you're not maybe in the hole right yet.
Why am I on the green now? Because it's tangible.
It's much more
doable. You have a purpose. So now I think, what are you trying to say, Adam? Are you trying to say, now you need to hone in on where you're going to get these coaches?
You need to confirm that is indeed the purpose. I mean, there's times I got in thinking the purpose was one thing, and then I'm like, oh, this is a whole other thing. So, but start with that. Like you're just exploring this. There may not be a purpose with this person. You may like each other, and you may have like some good excitement, but then after you explore it a little bit, you go, okay, you know what? We don't have the same purpose. There's overlap. We could be allies, but we don't have the same purpose. It's really getting clear on your purpose for this collaboration, and then seeing if it's truly the purpose. Because here's what I want to say about purpose: you don't create it. It's already there.
Is that organic? Do you think that purpose is something that's organic? It's a necessary why.
I don't know how it works, to be honest, but I know that this bottle has a purpose. I didn't think about it until I picked it up, but then I pick it up and I'm like, okay.
Got vodka in there.
It's water,
Watching you, Adam.
Vodka hours after 5.
This item here, I haven't thought about it, but this item here has a purpose. So we discern it. So when you and this other person are talking, then the purpose is yet to be discovered. Maybe it's you said it's to create a show.
No, I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about a joint venture.
Okay, so creating a business or something, or a project?
No, a class, a training that could be potentially.
So is this class have a destination? Is it all online?
Yes. But that's a method.
Yeah.
So I'm not supposed to be talking about that yet.
That's right. That's a great catch. You're right.
So the outcome of your purpose is to
gain more people to come into the platform.
So is this class simply to recruit?
recruit for your coaching purpose?
For the platform purpose.
This is great. That's the purpose. The purpose is to increase recruitment for this platform. The outcomes, you would say, well, by how many more people, if you have a sense of that. I'm not a big numbers guy, so I don't really, I'm a
Okay,
more.
so do outcomes need to be question marks? Because I noticed that just changed.
No, I mean, you could start with a question mark and be like, what is the outcome here? Or how many people do we want? You could just say that. And then when you collaborate with whoever, you can get clear on how many people. And then, it's qualitative too. It's what kind of people and how do you want to bring them into this? Do you want to bring it through a law of attraction approach, or do you want to manipulate them and deceive them? That's an approach.
What?
I don't know. Some people use that. Like every major corporation who advertises.
Like, I love you brought the law of attraction into.
Well, I did. That's my individualization. I'm not a big law of attraction guy, but I know she is. So.
Oh,
she's poking fun.
No,
Vicki's asking if recruiting people is an outcome. Yes.
Well,
but it's also, no, I said the purpose was to increase platform recruitment.
you can have a purpose that is that cut and dry. And if that is your purpose for creating this class, that is absolutely what you're going to do and focus on.
That's it.
That's
the only reason I'm doing it, other than I want to have fun.
Right. So in this particular instance,
he's confused now.
Well, I'll explain it. In this particular instance, since Rhonda is very specifically wanting to create this class to recruit people, it is her purpose. The amount of people, a successful outcome here would look, she could set whatever number, but to recruit 10 people or have 20 people on the call or enroll in the class. So this, not every purpose has to be kind of altruistic or, make some,
shattering and momentous and all that.
You want to just be careful. So Rhonda might do another class, and then that purpose of a second class would actually be specifically to teach somebody, how to improve their life in the context of their morning routine. And that would be her purpose at that point. Maybe an outcome would be to, and have 10 people enroll. So it sounds a little confusing, but it actually isn't. It's that whenever you're looking at what you're actually going to do in that context, very specifically, especially when it's something a little more micro. So like that one class specifically is to recruit people for this platform. So she'll stay focused, she'll say, okay, I can't go off on a bunch of tangents about, this or that. I need to stay focused on the value that they're going to receive from this platform. It helps her kind of really stay focused with her methods. And when she's creating the curriculum, if her purpose is to get people on the platform, she's going to shape a very specific curriculum. But that is for that class. That's not Rhonda's bigger purpose. That's not to say another class.
That's just one of Rhonda's projects.
Yeah, it's a micro. It's a smaller purpose. It has a very contained, beginning, middle, end. Bigger picture stuff, that's where you want to be careful that your purpose isn't something like, let's say, if I'm going to make a career change, my one and only purpose is to increase my income. That's usually not enough. That's usually not so great for a big picture purpose. So dial that back down and reassess. That could be an outcome, but on something that's very project focused, or even something that's part of an initial rollout, or like the purpose of the organization, Kimberly, that you were talking about, is not to have towels, be consistently supplied. However, supplying towels consistently matches the purpose of giving, customers the best highest
our
rate,
quality of service.
right?
Yeah,
So it's like you can start to.
we have a mission statement, and uncompromising quality is part of it.
Right. So,
So,
everything that goes under
yeah,
that has to match.
Let me pause.
everything.
Let me pause here. I want to bring in anybody else into the conversation because we just kind of got on this and then we ran with it. So I just want to take a step back, see if any of you have any questions or observations from what we've talked about so far.
So I have just something that helped me understand the concept because futuristic and ideation is not really my jam. So when we go into all of these philosophical things, it's hard for me to grasp the concept. So what helped me, which may help someone else, I'll share, was I went into the past and looked at a project that I did that was a large project.
Yeah.
And I took it, and it was around some work with Special Olympics and bringing them into the Native American community, right? So the purpose was Special Olympics, which is using sports as a platform for inclusion and celebration of joy and life and all of those things. And then the outcome was to bring in a community that was also marginalized and often not a part of that. Then when we went into the methods, I went back and said, how did I do that? We had to get funding. Yeah. So then I went and had another purpose of, okay, now I got to find funding. The outcome is to fund this project, and so it gave me a way of understanding it in the past that helped me kind of conceptualize. And then I got to look at it and say, oh, look at all those methods I used that were a waste of my energy, where if I would have done them, like taken them and looked at them, I would have realized, oh, that might not have worked in advance. So it was really helpful for me to look at something I've done and not necessarily trying to create something, because then I was able to say, okay, now I have this big project, my big purpose, life change, and it's just as big as this. So now I'm going to look at it this way. So I don't know if that will help people, but just some
That's
insight.
great.
So I think what I heard is that you would or wish that you had or will do multiple POM plans as you go along.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because I think when you look at it, when you look at it, especially in a large picture or a macro, for me, I would, you have all these other methods, but then you may want to go back and put the methods into this at that scope too, right? So your purpose is to move your needle for this larger purpose of impact, which is, spreading the message, recruiting coaches or recruiting people, so now you have this class, so, I mean, I tier it like that because I think that as a coach, you're able to really talk with people about their methods. But, so I would. Like I could see different pieces of the large project, this coming back into play had I known it was in the world and using it.
Right.
Each one of those stages. But the purpose, the large macro purpose was still there. But then you have so many other projects. When you think of a project manager, they have all those tasks they have to do, and then you have to move them. So it helps my achiever because I can get started and get finished on a micro level. So my activator and achiever gets to jam out, and then you get to move the needle forward with the big picture in mind. It's the whole we're playing a long game with a whole bunch of short games in the middle, to use a sports reference that I always like to throw in there. So.
I love that. And Leanne, I would ask too, did you feel when you were involved in that project that, generally, did you feel you were thriving? Like, is that the kind of project you want to be doing in life, kind of feel like? Were you all the way on when you were doing that?
Yeah, well, and that's great. I'm glad you asked that because I did think about what it was about that project that I loved. That's why I picked it. It was successful. It was difficult and it was complicated. And what I loved all those things, but I loved the things I was able to pull from it. You could see I naturally created methods around them. So I like to get things done with people. So at no point in time in that project, even though it was my start, none of those things I did alone. So I can pinpoint where my talents and my strengths and how my methods actually work for me. Then I look back at projects that I wasn't successful at or I'm struggling at currently. And those are things I see are missing from that. That's that alignment piece. Like, oh yeah, see, this was when I was in my prime and these things were aligned. And now this project, which doesn't mean I'm not capable of doing it. It's just the environment is not aligned with what I need, but I know I'm totally capable. well. So yeah, that's another piece of it.
Yeah, and that's something I want to kind of pull in that everybody, I'd like them to use that. You can absolutely look back and observe, try to pick a project or a time or an initiative that you did feel was that meaningful to you, and look at the methods in that same context, like Dan just said, that why, what conditions were present. And you'll usually see, especially now that you know even more about your talents, why that was successful and why the other ones were not. And exactly what she said too, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. And so try to really eliminate those methods from your POMs whenever you can. So that was a great example. And I know Vicki, she would like some feedback. So yeah, let's hear from Vicki, and then let's move into our content for tonight.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
That's so funny because Rhonda was just having me do that yesterday when I was talking to her about this, about remembering back to a time, and my time was like 20 years ago. And I was like, well, I remember I liked it, but it was so long ago, I didn't remember details. You guys can knock this out in your sleep probably, because it's about my strengths, because I'm like learning this for the first time. I'm not a coach, but like have dreams of becoming one. So what we've determined, and Rhonda has helped me greatly, is that I'm completely out of alignment. So far out that I'm confused about my top 5 because I don't see them in action. And a lot of it is that my current job is, way over here, and my strengths are way over here. So it's no wonder that I'm not feeling in alignment. So when I thought of this, I thought, okay, being out of alignment that's like what's bugging me right now, specifically on focus. That's my number 3rd theme, and I have none of it. Like, I don't feel like I have anywhere. So I wrote down.
Can you real quick tell me what focus means to you, like how you interpret that idea?
I would love to be able to focus on a task to completion without jumping from one to another, and then the next day really realizing I never got back to one. To me, I would love to be able to channel my focus.
Yeah.
I can focus on things I'm interested in, but I have a hard time, and I don't know if I'm bringing ADD into this, but I do have a hard time focusing on, important projects for work.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, ADD is a really important topic to Felinda and I, learning about it ourselves and dealing with our own bouts with it. But let's see. So you have focus in your mind as being about tasks.
Yes.
Okay. What about attention? What about like when somebody goes off track, do you bring them on track, back to where they were? Or when you notice that, do you work better when you have a target, a deadline, an outcome?
Yes.
That actually is a really good sign of focus. People with focus, we talk about every theme has a need. So people with focus, they need to have a deliverable, a tangible, a target. And without targets, they suffer. So I'm wondering if in your work, if you're missing those targets, or you just don't care about those targets, but really, first, if you're missing them or not.
I don't really have any. I work by myself. My husband's my boss, but I work out of the house. So I don't really have, like payroll has a defined, I always get it done. But a lot of the other things, I don't set hard targets on.
Okay. Right. So maybe it could be that in the past, you've always had outcomes provided for you. And maybe you haven't honed the part about creating your own specific targets.
Right.
And so maybe practicing with that. Because what I do is I assume the StrengthsFinder is accurate. There's good reason to do that. They've got a good track record. Is it always 100% accurate, or is there fudge factors in there? Yes. But I want to say, all right, you have focus. let's assume that's true until we eliminate that it's not, until we reveal that it's not accurate. So, but instead I want to go, you have focus. I'm going to assume you do. And how can we have that focus be as functional as possible? Maybe your environment is not giving you what you need. That's why we talk about individual environment fit. That's going to be in the video you'll watch this week. It's a really, really important topic. And you say you don't have alignment. Well, that's another way of saying that is you don't have a good fit for your unique design in your work. So we just need to, we need to figure it out. So I first wanted to find out, when you say I don't have focus, I want to be like, all right, well, let's first see if that's true or not. And I'm not,
I'm excited I have it.
Yeah.
I don't use it the way I feel like I should, since it's number 3. That's just that's the foundation. My goal is, how do I use these strengths?
That's what we all need to learn how to do better. We need to learn what are the themes about, and make sure we have an accurate understanding. We need to realize these are not strengths. That's important. It's not just word police. It's important because a strength is something different. You have strengths. We just don't know we haven't identified them yet, because our strengths are invisible to us. That's a direct quote from Don Clifton. That's his belief. Our strengths, the activities that we perform consistently and near perfectly, are invisible to us all. And that a sign of a strength is that you're using talents. And so that's why he created this thing called Strengths Finder. But you know what I heard recently, just this week, a friend of mine in the Strengths Finder community, she said when she went through her certification, she asked, why is it called Strengths Finder and not Talent Finder? And the answer she got from one of the instructors was that Talent Finder was trademarked. It was very interesting. But back to the point, learning that these are just your patterns of how you think, feel, and behave. Out of the 34 patterns we work with in the Strengths Finder, these are your most dominant patterns as determined by the Strengths Finder. So let's figure out, how does your focus work? How does your restorative and woo work? I mean, I would imagine if you're doing bookkeeping, your woo needs are not getting met.
Especially if you're working alone.
Yeah, and if you're doing bookkeeping.
I do have 2 labs. They get a lot of my woo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And like you're futuristic. If you're bookkeeping, that's about the past. That'd be great for Jim up here with Context, who, by the way, Jim is like a financial genius.
Hey, Jim, if you want me to send my QuickBooks file over, you just let me know.
Well, Jim was a CFO. With analytical number 1, like that's what he was built for. You, I don't know. I think, I'm not saying you can't do bookkeeping. I'd just be surprised if that was like really the most exciting aligned activity for you. But anyway, I don't want to slow things down. That was the first opening salvo you brought up, and I went off on that. And anyway, I'll let Felinda bring us back into focus.
So I can't figure all that out in one little sheet.
Probably not. There might need to be a longer conversation. But one of the things that Adam and I do really enjoy is doing a deep dive with you individually. So if you want to schedule a time with us, we do encourage that at least a session during this 10 weeks, just to really kind of make sure you feel clear. And so I just read the chat. I do want to make sure we do move on, so the people that have the hour mark can go ahead and go when they need to. I don't think we're done with POM, and it looks like we definitely need to do a longer class on it. And I think it's such a useful tool, so I don't want you to lose it. We didn't really talk in depth about how you'd use this with a client, but I would say, especially initially, as you're beginning to look at how you're going to pick a very particular intervention with a client, this is a great place to start. It helps you understand why you're even going to work together, potentially, if it's a good fit. You can get a lot of information on the page. So we're going to move on, just like I said, so we can get through where we are and get your homework clear. So the coin model facilitation overview It's what you watched. There's an intro discussion. You heard about the advantages, and this is language that you can use with a client. You can actually just take this language and explain it to a client this way. When they ask, well, why should I use you? This method gives you a lot going in, and that can be articulated as value for the client, and the client does perceive it as value. Or if you're not, working with engaging a client and you're internal and you're already, you've got your team, they have to do it. It's still good to get them on board about why this is valuable. So that's some stuff. So let's go to the mnemonic worksheet. This is your homework for this week. One of the things you're going to do this week. Some of you already know your top 5 in order. This seems like a very simple thing, and on the face of it, it is. But as you'll hear in Adam's video, as he talks through the pre-session video for next week, if somebody doesn't remember their top 5 and in order, they are not going to get the value out of this tool. It is like a dead end road. So this is so crucial as the first step of getting them to connect. So, if you're working with a client and you're all on fire working with, oh, hey, I see you have futuristic. And they're like, wait, what do I? It's going to be, it's hard to go forward. So can't emphasize making sure they remember. Now, a little caveat, I personally don't do the mnemonics well, and it turns out I even did mine wrong the first time, and it was so obscure, and thank you, Intellection, for the most obscure thing I could possibly come up with on the planet, and I just memorized mine, and that was a lot easier for me. However, here's some great examples built right into the worksheet. But we also have some visuals. This is a really lovely one that somebody did that incorporates visuals. And then here's another really great one. These will be in the video, so don't worry, you'll see them. And then some. But encourage people to get creative. And visual, I'm going to go back and redo mine, and we'll see, maybe a visual will make an appearance. Like I said, I just memorized mine. So if that's fine and it works, but this is just a really lovely way. People don't usually forget theirs if they pick one that works well. So you'll see these examples. Like I said, it can be very, very simple, or it can be, a little more complex. So that is a very quick exercise, potentially. You're going to watch your pre-session video, which will get, you'll see Adam will kind of take you through the raw talent section and the coin, the facilitation. Again, I want to stress, if you don't feel comfortable with that foundations content, go back and watch that section in the foundations videos that you watched before this class started. That's where a lot of the languaging around the content lives. And so you'll want to just go back and review that. And it's important to do if you get through that and you're still not feeling clear, because these are meant to kind of talk you through how we work with clients that way. The other thing you're going to do, here's where we start our deep dive, is you're going to watch the relationship themes video. You'll see this all linked out in your pre-session, your session 5. It'll have the video, pre-session video. It'll have a link to the relationship themes video, which is in your resources, and it'll have the mnemonic worksheet. Sorry, I see that, put that twice. So you have 2 videos to watch for next week. So the relationship themes video is 90 minutes. And how long was the pre-session, Adam?
It's about 45 minutes.
So you have a little more video heavy for the next couple weeks, so try not to get too behind. I think you'll enjoy the theme videos. What we try to do is a structure of really isolating one of the themes, talking through some key points, and then one of us tries to tell a story to give a good example. So it'll go fast. And Susan actually said something recently. Yeah, she's on the call too. She's been through our course before. She's refreshing that she actually speeds the video up. So if you are somebody who can listen to a video on an increased speed with audio, that might be a way to kind of absorb. But if not, take your time, do it in chunks. All right, so that is where we're coming right in at the hour mark. We'll stick around though. We'll still talk and answer some questions. I just wanted you to be clear about what we're going to do for next week and what we'll be doing together when we meet. Any questions on that?
I want to say the reason we want you to do the mnemonic exercise, even if you memorize your top 5 themes, is so that when you work with clients, you'll have the experience of having done that and be in their shoes. So, and it won't take long, and it's cool. Bring whatever creativity or lack of you want.
Okay, we'll be noodling around how we're going to revisit the POM. I know a lot of you on the call are really kind of wrestling with some big picture POMs, and it's not a different process, it's just a much bigger one. And in a bigger life, if you're making a life transition or you're contemplating one, let me say this about transformative experience. You can put everything on paper. Your current self can project forward into the future what you think you want and what outcomes you want. That's a good thing to do. It helps get you in motion. But what sometimes will happen is, like I said, in the methods and the reality of it, that's where you're going to actually be completely in reality evaluating what's happening. As you cannot logically from point A know what the other side of that's going to look like. It will shape itself. POM is a way to kind of get your boat in the water, or to use the metaphor we're actually using, put your foot on the bridge and to see the other side of where you're headed. So it's meant as an anchor, as an orienting, but that bridge may not look exactly like, you think it's going to look at the beginning, but it's a good way to get you organized and started. And so I just want to say that, because sometimes if you get into it and you're like, wow, things seem to be shifting, or, oh, this method, I don't know, but actually I'm kind of really enjoying it, take a closer look. So those are for those more personal kind of big picture methods. Sometimes they're really concrete ones that are really professionally, the professional applications. Those are the more often the easy ones. They're not sometimes easy, but they're the ones where you're like, okay, this is the thing that needs to happen. Here's what it's going to look like when it happens. Here's how we're going to get there. Everyone on the same page. Great. Let's go. Let's get to doing, and everybody gets the role assigned, and those are just a little easier. So I'm just going to say that about those big picture ones. Again, love to talk about that stuff with people, so reach out to one of us.
Can you see what I shared on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, this is just one of my clients. It's a department at OU, University of Oklahoma, and so their purpose here, it has a little bit more of a vision kind of sound to it. So maybe not, it could be refined a little bit, but let's say their purpose is to be the premier research institute focusing on children birth to age 4, so toddlers, 2s, and 3s, in group care settings with a substantial portfolio of research and strong diversified funding. So that was their purpose. Their purpose is to help raise better kids. That's really, like, if we were to get to it, that's what I would say their purpose is. A research-based thing to proper brain development for kids would be a more scientific way they'd probably like. Then some of their outcomes: 12 empirical papers submitted annually, secure and implement large federal grant. And the reason I'm showing you this is they just received a $2.7 million grant. That's huge. It's huge. And then these were their 5 main methods. Underneath each one of these are a lot of details, but they want to have research excellence. That's a strategy. They need to set themselves up to be the best they could be at research, because that's their core business. Productive collaboration. So they need to work with other institutions and outside the university. So they need strong and diverse funding. So they need to diversify their funding. They can't rely on one source. So you can see how underneath each one of these could be a lot of stuff, but that's okay. That's in another document. They want to enhance the reputation and visibility. So that's an important part of their strategy, important strategy for them is the reputation and visibility. And they want to have what they call mature organizational capacity, but it's teamwork. It's being a better run organization, a strengths-based organization. So I just wanted to share with you a one way it could look like. One side of the bridge, the other side of the bridge, and then these being the steps across the bridge. It's different visually, but it's the same kind of idea. I don't know. I thought maybe sharing that might help a little bit as an example. Thoughts, reactions?
Just shows us how smart you are.
Well, that was the real purpose.
I wonder if this is easier for you truly because you are so high and strategic, and that may be why we have trouble seeing. I'm just asking if that's a possibility.
I would suggest that it might, one, Adam, really loves developing this and has been practicing it. So this is where the knowledge and the skill piece come in too. So yes, talents could play a part, but I absolutely believe that your talents can be applied to this.
I teach this to high school kids and they use it too. It's not,
But how many of them stick with it? That's all I'm asking.
Probably none of them. They're all scoundrels.
No, we actually know that to not be true because they have come back. They actually use it in the class and then in the department used it because of that. So I can't give you a number, but we do know that some of them have come back and said. We also have used this with community leadership programs across the country. And a lot of them do find this to be, it's in the purpose chapter, it's part of the structure of the curriculum. They do tend to like this tool. So I think one of the things we're facing here though is that yes, everybody's talents, it's gonna look different, but you all just learned it. So you're gonna be looking at knowledge and skill. That's exactly where we are right now. Yes, folding into the talents the way you do it is absolutely important. And yes, anyone who needs to go, please, this is just a bonus, extra stuff.
And Flinda, you need to go too. So
I do soon. So, but I just wanted to say, don't give up because there's some knowledge and skill pieces here that we're not accounting for. And I want to account for them, okay? So it's really about doing a few of them for different things, just pen to paper. And then bring them to us. Ask us about them.
Also, use that ladder of performance to kind of help you gauge how you're learning POM. Treat POM as an activity. And then, before you heard about POM, you were oblivious. Now you're inept. And maybe some of you are like, you know what? I want to be a beginner. And that's great. So, you already are beginning because you've already had conversations. And any activity where you're a beginner, expect it to be awkward. Expect it to be like, I'm not quite sure exactly what to do. When you're a beginner, you don't know noise from signal. Think about that. Whenever you begin something, you're new to coaching. You don't know anything about what a good client is or a bad client is. And then you get some clients and then you're like, oh, right, okay. And you learn to separate noise from signal. And that's what experience does for us. And so that's what will happen with you. You'll learn how to use POM more effectively. And you're going to find it's going to be such a great tool with your clients, for yourself, and all manner of things. It's an amazingly useful tool. So we will do more on that, and we'll create a class on it, and we'll make it so you guys can get even better at it. And we'll talk with you one-on-one if you need help with it. All right, back to you, Flinda.
Well, I was just answering one of those questions. So the performance ladder is not a standalone, completely separate handout. It is a graphic that you could pull from the PowerPoint and print out separately if you want to. But it is in the performance ladder handout, which comes down in the mature talent section. But it is introduced early, so you can find it. You do have access to it, but we don't have one. It is part of the short version of the performance formula. So we will be getting to that and covering that more, actually. But if you want it now, you have it in the resources. All right, I'm going to jet, but I love seeing everybody, and I will see you next week.
All right, and I'll stick around for a few minutes, but anybody that also has to take off, you feel free. You won't hurt any of our feelings, and anybody has a question, stick around for like 5 or so minutes, and then we'll kick it off. All right, so you're stuck with me now, the crazy uncle. The mature adult left the building.
Wahaha.
I know. So yeah, what questions or any topics do any of you have that you want to talk about?
Rhonda?
Yeah,
well, I mean,
Rhonda.
y'all go ahead and take your shot. I really want to work on this POM for what I have to do.
Yeah. Well, let's do
I
it.
mean, are you okay to do that? Because you're just really good at it. I don't want to be a hog, but since none of y'all stepped up in half a second, then I'm gonna.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hashtag activator. I'm really good. Have you noticed?
Mhm. Yeah. So go ahead. Talk to me. What do you want?
And I don't know who knows here, but I am an evangelist now for SOAR. That doesn't mean anything except I'm on the hunt to find people for this. I'm on the hunt to find people who need coaching so they can come on the platform and get married up with a coach.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So we're using an event platform that will target. So I'm thinking, how can we target HR professionals, large corporations that are looking for training for their management teams, and have these little bitty 90-minute trainings that we put out there at a, reasonable price, because some HR manager somewhere in the world is looking for something.
Yeah.
And so if I can duplicate that and start bringing new people in, because we've added value, and now they're like, wow, I see the value of this, and I certainly see the value of coaching. Let me go check this out. That's what I want to do.
And this other person, is that person also an evangelist?
No, she would like to be, but she cannot be without a partner.
Okay.
True story. She
Yeah.
just doesn't. She doesn't have the talent for it. I do.
Do you need her? Do you need her to be a partner?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
you know why? Because she's a content creator.
Okay.
Just like
All right.
I need you. So we need to do the same thing.
So now that I'm learning more, just how it's sounding to me, it sounds like a lot of the methods have already been determined. It sounds like you've been given something that at least already has a starter, like not really a POM, but they've already started with the plan. It sounds like it, because you said that you have this platform,
right,
or you have these classes you're going to teach, and all right.
No, that's just one idea.
The software, the scheduling thing, the event software, that thing.
That has been determined.
Right. So it sounds to me like your purpose is to create let me just think out loud here, but is to create an optimal recruitment platform to fulfill your evangelist role.
Correct.
Yeah. So then there's a couple methods that I'm already thinking about differently. Like, should we get together with other evangelists and do a planning session for, what is the best way to, which is a different
we're doing
method.
that Monday. We're actually doing that Monday, or not Monday. Tuesday evening and Wednesday.
Then whoever's facilitating it, have them facilitate it. Like, what's our purpose in doing this? And maybe you start off with a purpose statement from SOAR.com, and then they can maybe comment on it, but that'll speed you along. Like, here's our purpose. Now, what outcomes? And I'd also want to know from SOAR.com, what outcomes do they want from their strengths evangelists? And then see if anybody has any additional outcomes. And now it's methods. And
I
now
have
it's
an
about
idea that I know what they are.
No, you know what are the outcomes?
I have a feeling I know what the outcomes are.
Good.
100 new people times three events a month.
Okay. And then I would just talk about that and go, is that reasonable? Is that, could we be more
It doesn't
aggressive?
matter whether it's reasonable. That's the outcome they'd like.
Yeah. Well,
I just have to figure out and that's for each evangelist.
Mm-hmm.
So 300 people would be my goal.
Okay. Yeah. And then what I would look at too is, personally, is being an evangelist part of my purpose? Because they asked me to do it too. And I'm like, I don't know that I want to, I don't think I'm going to do it. I want to know for you why. Okay. Yeah.
So let me just answer that for you.
Okay, good.
It requires that you come out of the house.
Oh yeah, that ain't gonna happen. All right. So, so good. So I don't know if any of that's helping, but I mean, because I'm wrapping my mind around your situation more. You're part of someone else's. This is part of someone else's game.
It is, but I still have my own business within the game.
Okay, good. And
right?
so I would want to clarify what for you, this, you don't have to make it public, but for
I don't
you,
mind. For me, it's money. I mean, that's what the ultimate.
But I would say, and this is a tough one. I actually had a client not hire me because they disagreed with me, but they were wrong. I was right. Money is never a purpose.
It's not a purpose.
It's an outcome.
It's for a greater impact is what.
Or it could be a method if you need money to do something. But yes, money is an outcome. It's
money
a measurement.
Is an outcome. Yes, money is an outcome.
But it's never a purpose.
For me, the purpose is that let me just rephrase. Before I state the purpose, I'll say that the program, as I understand it, is in alignment with who I am and how I.
Good.
Who I am, what gets to, because it's to impact, it's to make people better, right? Bottom line.
Yeah.
And what is not clear is, first of all, the outcome for me. And when we talk about money, just in transparency, y'all, I don't mind sharing this. Pinning me down to numbers is like they don't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
There's no, like, you could tell me $5,000 a month, and I'm like, okay, whatever, because that has no meaning.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, it does, but it's not one I think about.
I think, I mean, it's important to connect back to Rhonda. Your purpose is to make it rain. You know, Rhonda's purpose is to be a rainmaker. You know, around, you know, and more. There's more to it than that. So I would say, how is this connected to that purpose? How could this help you make it rain?
How could which?
This evangelist role help you make it rain?
How can I help make it rain? Because that's exactly what it's all about. It's raining.
Right.
It's like going in the thunder, man.
Right.
Come on.
So,
I'm going to be doing a rain dance out there, y'all.
I know. And see, this is why I think this is like a slam dunk for you. I think this you should be doing, this should be way easier to you than the way it's been so far. And I think what's held you up is, you know, like you in partnership with this other person, and you know, like that was messy. And I think the clean part of it here is, you know, your purpose is to help make it rain on behalf of SOAR.com by recruiting new coaches. Your outcomes
No. That's not what the evangelist is, to recruit new coachees. It's different.
Okay, good.
It's different. And
Yeah,
so
it is different.
because of that, I need to be able to contribute something other than my smiling face, right? And so I want content. I want to, you know, it's never ever about me. So I always want to bring, I'm better in partnership with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I become a facilitator, an interviewer, sort of.
Yeah.
But it's got to have meat on it.
Rhonda, how high is your responsibility? Because you feel really responsible for
28.
this. Okay, because I'm like
a maximizer.
All right,
all it is.
But okay, all right, because this sounds like it's more. This sounds, to be honest, it's more like SOAR.com's POM. You know, like I don't know that they've really figured this one out, and they needed to POM it more.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
And in the absence of that, now you have to figure it out. But POM was a great tool.
I just have to figure it out I have to figure out what my methods are to accomplish this.
That's right.
The POM, you're right. It's the same.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's theirs.
Yes.
Because, you know, like I'm recruiting to the platform. That's their P.
Yeah. Yes, that's the purpose. The purpose is to outreach, get more people.
Like you said, I can have my own purpose, which is to make it rain.
Yes, and you should. You should do your own POM for this. And you're right. Once
that's why we're doing it.
What's that?
That's why we're doing it.
Yeah. Once you know, so I would say let's get to outcomes. Because until you have outcomes, we can't talk about methods. That's really key, by the way, guys. Like you might start with a method that happens, but you better make sure that method is going to be the best approach for producing the outcomes you want.
Okay, so there is a platform that's already a method that they're, you know, and I don't need to go into what that is, but the outcome that they would like is 300 new people coming into the platform a month.
Okay. Yeah. Ooh. So, all right.
Me.
300 people to do what? To hire coaches?
To come in, to at least be exposed to the platform, whether they hire a coach or not, we don't know.
Now, this is important. This gets to outcomes. So the outcome is not 300 paying clients. It's correct. 300, you know, people who are considering, who have been exposed to the platform. Correct. That's key. That's really key, because that's a different set of strategies. If you're talking about 300 paying people signing up, that's a different set of methods. In other words,
correct.
I said strategies, but
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, all right, good. Keep going. What else? So you want 300 people who have been exposed to it a month. And what does exposure mean? Like let's drill down into that.
Means they've attended an event.
They've attended an event. Great.
And for me, it's going to be online.
Okay. And then of those 300 people, what percentage of them would do what? Like, are you asking them to sign up? Are you asking them to hire a coach? Or it doesn't matter?
No, I don't know that we're asking them to opt in as much as right now. I mean, there could be an opt-in at some point. Right now, I don't know what that opt-in is. And it occurs to me that there should be an opt-in. Like there needs to be some kind of content that keeps them.
Is there an outcome about the type of person, or it's just numbers at this point? Any human being?
Numbers.
Okay, good.
Because it's a numbers game when you're doing recruiting and selling, and especially internet marketing, right? Internet sales. So, but the method that they are encouraging is a local market method. And I'm like, no, I'm going global. So keep me online because that's where I want to be. But everybody else in the program but me is creating events locally. And I'm not opposed to doing a local event. I'm happy to do one.
Yeah, but
I'll come to Tulsa. Let's do one. But the point is, I need to establish myself online.
So here you've already determined methods when you said that, because geographic, if it was in Oklahoma City, that's a different set of methods for organizing. Yours is going to be digital. So, right?
So is that an outcome or a method?
These are methods now. Because you've said you don't want to be geographic, you want to be global. That right away tells us your methods are going to be more about digital than about in-person, face-to-face.
Correct.
Yeah. And so now we can begin to break that down a little bit to go, all right, we need one method around awareness, increasing awareness, getting the word out there. And so, that might get into you talking to influencers.
Are you talking about promoting?
Yeah. I mean, promotion, you can call it that as a method.
Because that's what we had.
Yep.
And now you split it to promotion and deliverables.
Yeah. And another method is going to be around messaging, right? Like you have to have the right words and phrases.
Which is a deliverable.
Yeah.
Are you meaning promotional messages?
Yeah, I think your messaging is a strategy. It's what you say and how you say it and in what sequence and your visuals and all of that. So I think messaging is key.
Okay.
So I'd put that down. And then I'd put down your delivery medium. And it's probably going to be like your Zoom, your conference calls. And then, think about, all right, once you have the call, how are you going to follow up with them? So now you have a follow-up method. Right? And like between those 4 or 5 things I said, you're starting to really frame out what your methods are going to look like.
Okay.
And then you drill down into those more specifically and like, what are your message points? Oh, okay. So I'm gonna spend a half hour creating bullet points or my message, my talking points. I'm gonna talk with Clint or whoever else over there, Rhett or whatever, and get what they have as their messaging points, so that you can start. You don't have to start from scratch. So that's how you begin building out that method. And then your platform, like how are you gonna organize your calls? And what's your schedule for the calls? And how frequently are you going to do it? And then are you going to have replays of your calls? So you don't have to have a new call every time. You can just, if somebody wants to just click on a link and watch a video, that'll save time. You don't have to keep doing a call over and over again.
So yeah, one of the purposes of having another, now we're getting to, I said purpose and I don't know if that's it, but so let me rephrase. One of the methods that I want to employ is sharing content of other coaches.
Okay, great.
That is a method absolutely that I want to employ.
Perfect. Then that needs to go down there. And yeah, go with your usual suspects first. Go with the ones that you're like, I need this, I want this. And then talk to some other people and they might add some ideas to it as well. And because the way POM works is it's a dance, really. There's no one right way to do it. It's like sometimes I'll start with purpose to get as far as I can, and then I'll go into methods or outcomes. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this outcome tells me my purpose. I come back and I reframe my purpose a little bit. I start playing with methods and get some ideas out there. And then I come back later and that's a stupid method. I thought of a new one that's going to be great. And now I'm framing it in there. And I want you guys to feel like you have, total creative freedom with this. Because you do. And it's just a thinking tool. That's all it is. It's like there's always a purpose. It's
a
so
way of organizing your thinking strategically, Adam.
That's what it is.
Y'all understand what he did here. He gives us this tool that helps us understand strategy, or he has created a strategy to help us not spin our wheels so much. If
That's
only
exactly
I could just
right.
consistently do it.
It happens, but it takes a little practice. When I write an email, responding to somebody, okay, what's my purpose? All right, what do I want them to think?
You know what? I caught myself doing that last night with somebody. I sure did.
That's how it works. And then you'll talk with a client and they'll be like, we need you to come in and do a communication workshop. Well, why do you want me to do a communication workshop? We got this guy on our team and he's a real jerk. So I'm like, oh, your purpose is to help, deal with a problem employee. Your method that you handed me was to have everybody take a day off work and go through a training, and the only ones who are going to get anything out of it are going to be them and not this guy. No, it's a wrong method. We gotta have a performance intervention with the one person who's being a jerk. That, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a thinking tool. Oh, well, you said we got to do a workshop. They came to me with a method. All right, that's fine. That may be the right method. But before we do
why
that,
do you have me coming in?
Why? What's the purpose? That's the purpose. Okay. What would make you satisfied? Which is my way of asking, what outcomes do you want? We did this workshop, and I did this the other day. I was in Oklahoma City. Was it yesterday or the day? 2 days ago. I know.
What's wrong with you?
I didn't think about it till afterwards, and I didn't want to hang out and be social. So there. But we talked on the phone last night. You're sick of me already.
I know that had everything to do about you, not me.
Yeah. So anyway, before I went out there, I said, why do you want to do this session? Oh, well, we're doing a 2-day retreat. We thought this would be good. We only want 3 hours. We want our team to evaluate StrengthsFinder. No, they didn't even say that part. They said, we just want to get to know each other better and learn more about ourselves. And then I said, let me ask you this. Are you interested in StrengthsFinder for rolling out to all your team members, or are you just wanting to sample it? And she said, we hadn't thought about that. I said, well, could it be that the purpose of this event is for your team to take a deeper look at StrengthsFinder with the purpose of determining if they want to roll it out to everybody in the organization? And she said, you know what? That actually sounds like the purpose. That would be great if you did that. And so I organized my methods around that. Because I have a whole bunch of content, right, to present. I have 3 hours to present it. So I have way more content. I can't just go in there and start presenting content. I need to go in there with the right content.
Right.
Wow. So purpose, method, outcome, you don't even have to teach it to your client that way. You just need to know it. You just need to go, wait a minute. What? And not even a client. Do it with your significant others. Just be like, oh, you want to go to this event, but you want to go because you want to do that. But I want to go to this event for this reason. How can we both have our purposes met so we're not killing each other in the process?
Mm-hmm.
It's a great tool for alignment. Is one of the main things that POM is for creating alignment.
I love that.
Yeah. Let me stop there because we kind of do have to wrap up, but I want to see if any of the other people who hung around had any thoughts or questions. And we can talk about this more. We're not done, but maybe just for today we'll be done. But yeah, any thoughts, questions? Vicki, Kimberly, Susan?
No, I mean, I didn't, of course, give them a chance to answer.
All right. Which is fine.
I just wanted to say thank you again.
You're most welcome. I mean, it's the more we talk about it, the more it'll click. This will click. You
do have to talk it through, seriously. And I'm getting ready to make a call about talent to strength for somebody for a January class.
Great. We are doing a January class, so if anybody has anybody they want to introduce us to, feel free. But yes, great. So yeah, Vicki, any thoughts, questions?
I was just going to say this little discussion after the class, I think really helped get it concrete for me.
Perfect.
And then I don't have to worry about, do I have the right word in the right box that I need to worry about? Am I thinking the right way?
Right.
And then they will fall into the right box.
And they will.
It'll set itself out. So thank you.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Kimberly, you good? Okay,
Love it.
Susan may or may not be there. So I'm going to hang up. All of this is on recording too, so you can. Oh, hi Susan. Do you have any thoughts, questions? Good. Great to see you. All right, everybody. Then let us know if you need anything, and I'll be posting this video if you want to watch it again.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, you as well.
Seriously, this time, you know.
Oh, okay. All the other times you were lying. Now I know. All right, guys. Seriously, I love talking about this stuff, and just looking forward to more. You're gonna like this video. It should be up now for next week. And yeah, talk to you soon.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Adam. Thanks.
Bye.